everyone. Yeah, I have to say, when I went through the agenda for this event, I was positively surprised by the number of sessions that were not messaging. Was started to be almost an exclusively messaging event a few years ago, evolved into a much more diverse content. And yeah, the number of sessions on network APIs and RCS, I think that's good. I think that's in line with where the industry is evolving and what the current challenges and questions are. So in that spirit, I'll also speak about primarily network APIs and a little bit of RCS today, more from the perspective, what are the key challenges that slow adoption today and how those are best overcome. I think most of you know Netnumber. For those who don't know us, we are a phone number intelligence provider, any phone number anywhere in the world. We have certain metadata elements about the phone number that helps with fraud prevention, routing, rating and billing, and other use cases. So let's get to it. I'm going to start with the network APIs part, and I assume most of you know what network APIs are. Basically, carriers all over the world are exposing certain set of data elements, certain services, certain capabilities from the network via programmable interfaces that enterprises out there can access and use to enable certain use cases. Those three network APIs in red circles are the ones that I think are the most successful. They see the most adoption today. Number verify, the replacement of OTP SMS, also called silent authentication, SIM swap, which helps with account takeover protection, and the KYC match that can help with onboarding. You might think, these are theoretical. I haven't seen this in real world, but actually these happen right now, and they happen on an increasing scale. Certain services like PayPal implemented the number verify service already last year, I think. Those that have been at Aduna last week in Madrid, you saw the presentation of Meta and their commitment to number verify for authentication. We know Google is also replacing SMS-based authentication with other APIs and services like that. So this is happening, and they're already in use, and they are growing. So where did this all start? This started with OTP SMS. In terms of authentication, in terms of security, this started with the OTP SMS. And OTP SMS is pretty easy, right? So you have a brand, they want to send a message. They usually work with the CPaaS. The CPaaS is sending the message to the carrier, and then it gets delivered on the phone, right? Well, not quite. It looks more like this, and this is oversimplified. It's a mix of direct connections, SMS gateways, exclusive connectivity, and all that, and a lot of resell. Actually, it's not uncommon to have SMS delivery over 5 hops, 10 hops, even 15 hops. Everybody seems to be reselling from everybody. There is a messaging event almost every couple of weeks, and if you look at the number of companies that attend out there, it's massive. And yeah, they all claim to have direct connections, but that's obviously impossible, right? So when the message gets delivered from the brand to the subscriber, it has to find its path over this complicated maze of relationships and connections. So what happens is that at almost every step, there are certain questions that have to be answered. Is the phone number even valid, reachable? Is it ported? Where do I have to deliver it? Which carrier? And so on and so forth. And then this has to be answered actually at every step in the delivery process. This cost routing and all these elements lead to the fact that certain information about the phone number are needed to deliver the message. So luckily, we're moving towards something much simpler, network APIs. So hopefully that picture in the beginning stays true, can work with a single company, with a single player to get my users authenticated. Well, not quite. The same complex model is kind of inherited here, even though on the right-hand side towards the carrier, the number of players right now is much smaller. However, on the left-hand side, there is still a lot of aggregation, build on top, resell, and so on and so forth. So the questions that you saw on the previous slide, they have to be answered here as well. Even though the network APIs are standardized, it is still important to know which carrier's API do I have to call. Do I have to call a Vodafone API? Do I have to call a T-Mobile API? They work similarly, but then you have to reach the right endpoints. And it matters if the phone numbers are ported. It matters even if they are reachable and active. You don't want to pay for those phone numbers that are not even active on the network, and so on and so forth. And similarly to the messaging model, these questions typically have to be answered at each step of the integration process here to ensure optimal service and accurate routing. So yeah, let's speak about RCS now. Does this model stay true for RCS or not? And just in terms of clarification before that, RCS in this context is meant as A2P RCS or RBM, so I'm not speaking about P2P RCS that works differently. So from a business perspective, is RCS delivery simpler? Well, not quite. Fragmentation is a factor here as well. Starting with vetting, Eddie correctly described here how vetting needs to be done on a carrier-by-carrier basis, both for network APIs. That's true for RCS as well. For RCS, there are certain, I call them island countries, but there are certain countries that provide capabilities, but they're kind of isolated to that country. It's a closed ecosystem. Japan, China come to mind. I'm sure there are others. I've even heard about countries that kind of implement a gateway model where they prefer a certain local provider to be the entry point, even though the underlying technology is still based on the Google Cloud technology. But in between the enterprises or the aggregators, they want to have a local company that kind of aggregates on everyone's behalf. And then obviously coverage not being universal, the question is always, I want to reach 100% of the subscribers. How do I intelligently mix RCS or even other channels, WhatsApp and such, with SMS such that I can reach everyone on their favorite or supported channel? So we kind of have the same questions here as well. Is the phone number reachable? Is the phone number RCS capable? Which carrier? Where do I have to send it? And do I have to fall back on SMS or another channel? So if we try to bring this together without going through every word here in this table, but kind of the message is, even though we're moving from legacy SMS into network APIs and into RCS, most of the problems continue to exist in the same way. The fragmentation continues to exist. The routing decisions still have to be made. The reachability of the phone number needs to be checked. The number portability aspect has to be considered. And cost optimization, this is something that's increasingly a factor now. We had decreasing margins in SMS for many, many years. So making sure that each SMS that you send out actually can be delivered was important. Now we see the same being true with network APIs and with RCS, even though I think margins on these services are still higher, are now higher than in SMS. Nobody wants to overspend money here, so checking before the fact if a certain number is capable of a certain service, and then only using these APIs, the services where it makes sense, is something that is very common. And last but not least, the failover element. So how do you correctly mix different channels and different APIs? How do you fail over on an older technology like SMS for authentication if network APIs or RCS are not supported? So all this can be overcome with number intelligence, in the sense that certain pre-flight checks that can be done here to ensure that once you go downstream, you use the services optimally. So when using number intelligence, this complex picture kind of becomes simpler. It's not as simple as 2 hops, but at least with number intelligence, you have a clear path out of all the connectivity options. You know where the message or the network API call or whatever is falling through. So this helps to improve the service, eliminate the noise, overcome fragmentation, maximize reach, minimize latency, cost optimization, obviously, and then intelligently mixing channels. Yeah. That was the presentation part. So I would say for now, if we want to take any questions. Yeah.
Question at this point? Otherwise, I'll join you on stage.
Sure.
Catalin, and I'll have a few questions for you. Take a seat.
Yeah.
So interesting. I think you talk about the scale, the reality of the scaling, right? I mean, so I guess the question for me is like, where are you seeing number intelligence making the biggest difference today? I mean, is it still primarily SMS? Where do you and how do you see number intelligence solving the problems of scaling for RCS and Network API?
Right. I think it depends a little on the use case. If we take authentication as the typical use case, definitely most of it is still happening over SMS with OTP codes being sent over text messages. However, this is shifting. This is clearly shifting. I mentioned a few examples with Meta, Google, and others that are, the massive SMS OTP senders are looking at other channels for all the reasons that we've talked about. And in terms of the impact, I think it's a tiered impact here. I think short-term, RCS is going to be the leader in terms of using number intelligence. Why? Because it's relatively easy to switch from an SMS message to an RCS message. Sure, the technology is different, but from an enterprise standpoint, it's very much the same, a different channel, more interactive, but it's very much the same. But I think after this, network APIs are actually the real growth trigger for two reasons. First of all, they don't replace, they enable new use cases. This is very important. And second of all, the way they are positioned today, they are the premium. They don't try to fight with SMS on a cost-by-cost basis. I know you're disagreeing. Depends on the market. But from what I see, they are not a little higher. To the point of cost optimization, if a certain action is 50% more expensive, two times more expensive, it makes sense to make sure that you optimize your cost and you're not overpaying on that.
Okay. So, and next question I have is on you talk about the fragmentation, and specifically in the US, what is the hardest gap that needs to be solved? Is it the carrier, inconsistency or lack of alignment maybe, the aggregator coverage, and the integration with the enterprise? Where do you see the gap and how do we solve them?
Yeah, I think none of them. I think all three are. It's possible to overcome them. I think what's going to be interesting in the US. I think we're coming from a state where text messaging was really, really cheap on a per transaction basis. It's among the cheapest in the world, maybe an order of magnitude cheaper than let's say Western Europe. And when you look at network APIs as a replacement for certain use cases, in most of the other countries, the network API and the OTP SMS price are kind of at the same level, maybe a little different here and there, but definitely not 2x or 3x or 10x more expensive. Well, that might be the case actually with the US if we're starting from a 0.00x cost to send a text message and maybe a 0.0x cost for a network API call. So I think it's going to be a pretty important shift in terms of enterprise mentality. So is it premium enough for me to pay 10x more? And then how does that change the enterprise? How does it affect the enterprise adoption?
Oh, I think there's a question.
Yeah.
So Catalin, what are you guys going to do about number lookup, which is a direct replacement for a lot of the services that you offer? So I can ping a network, like through an API, network API, and do a number lookup and find out if the subscriber's on that network. And most of these carriers who have exposed or that are exposing the network APIs are also exposing a direct link into the local markets number portability database. So number lookup is going to do away with the HLR lookup. Number lookup is going to allow this traffic to be driven to the correct operator. So I'm just trying to. I mean, I love what you guys have been a partner and customer with you guys for many, many years. Where do you see Netnumber filling that gap, like as they move towards exposing number lookup and then number verify and then SIM swap? We can get into pricing if you want and stuff, but that's because number lookup is designed to do away with a lot of the stuff that a lot of companies out there have been doing.
Yeah, that's a great question. So number lookup from a carrier perspective, I think it's an interesting API, but I don't think it's a replacement for a comprehensive solution like the ones that we're offering for the following reason. you don't know in advance if the number is ported or not. If you want to use the carrier number lookup API, you kind of have to go carrier by carrier. Is it a Vodafone number, yes or no? Is it an Orange number, yes or no? And then you have a waterfall.
Depends on what they send back. Yeah.
It depends on what they send back, but it's not one API call gives me the response across the whole market. You kind of have to have this logic where you check through each carrier's API to get to the response that you want. So even leaving cost aside in terms of latency, this is not ideal. We're able in almost every country to return the carrier in milliseconds. From what I've looked in terms of the markets where the number lookup API is available, that's not possible. We're looking at tens or hundreds of milliseconds.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Any other question? So yeah, Catalin, I have a few questions actually too. So let's talk about the ROI, commercial impact. How does directly the number intelligence translate into revenue? Is it through cost optimization, higher delivery rates, better conversion? Where do we fall on that one?
So on one hand, from what we see in terms of customer demand over the past 1 to 2 years, cost optimization has been the driver here. A few years ago, people actually didn't care if a message got delivered or not. They were sending everything, and if it got delivered, great. If it didn't get delivered, no big problem. We see markets now where the SMS cost has exceeded 20 cents per message. So there, even if you just have 2% or 5% invalid numbers in your portfolio of phone numbers that you have to reach, it makes a huge difference. It can make the difference between being profitable or losing money. So definitely that's top of mind for our customers. And then maximizing delivery in the sense of combining the channels intelligently, I think this is what comes next. It used to be 99.9% was SMS anyway, doesn't matter. Now that's not the case, right? So a lot of it is over WhatsApp, a lot of it is over RCS now, and then understanding if a certain subscriber, if they have WhatsApp capability or RCS capability, and if not being able in real time to reach them over another channel, that's where I see now immediate growth over the next 12 months.
Okay. I have one last question, but just from an adoption perspective, practically speaking, CPaaS enterprise trying to adopt, without this number intelligence service, without adding additional complexity to what they already have.
Yeah, so from their perspective, I think not much is changing. They're using number intelligence today to route messaging. So the way I look at it is that the same services, the same APIs, they continue to exist. However, they get applied to these new channels that we're using or these new technologies like network APIs.
Okay. We are at the end of any other question otherwise? Thank you, Catalin.
Yeah, thank you too.